The first time my dad mentioned the safe deposit box, he didn't say it like a rich guy's secret. He said it like a warning. Aaron, he told me, voice thin from the hospital oxygen, if Brooke ever starts acting friendly, check the box. That was 2 weeks ago. This morning, my phone buzzed while I was buttering toast for my kid. Bank alert, vault access request, safe deposit. My stomach tightened so fast I almost dropped the knife. I called the number back, still staring at the notification like it might blink and say, oops, wrong person. A calm voice answered, Riverside Bank, this is Nina. I didn't give her my whole life story. I just said, my name is Aaron Keller. I got an alert about my father's safe deposit box. Harold Keller. Is someone trying to access it? There was a pause. Keyboard clicks. And then Nina's tone changed, subtle, but I heard it. Ma'am, she said, are you in a position to come to the branch? I'm 5 minutes away, I said, already grabbing my keys. Okay, she replied carefully. Please come in through the front. And asked for me. It wasn't dramatic. She didn't say emergency, but she said it the way people do when they're trying not to set off a fire in the lobby. I drove there with one hand on the wheel and the other gripping the small ring of keys my dad gave me last week. He'd pressed them into my palm and said, don't lose this. I hadn't realized he meant don't lose it to your sister. When I walked into Riverside Bank, the place looked normal on purpose. Quiet music, brochures, soft lighting, everyone pretending money isn't stressful. And then I saw her. Brooke, perfect hair, perfect coat, perfect posture, standing at the counter like the building was hers. She wasn't alone. Next to her was a man in a fitted blazer holding a slim portfolio. One of those people who always looks like he's on his way to explain something to someone else. Brooke had her finger on the counter, pointed toward the hallway marked Vault. She said it loud enough for anyone in line to hear. Open the box, I'm authorized. Nina, the teller I'd spoken to, didn't argue. She didn't roll her eyes. She didn't do anything that would turn Brooke into a louder version of herself. She just held out her hand. Of course, Nina said evenly. May I see the documentation? Brooke slid a paper across like she'd been dying to do it. Court order, she said, smiling. Signed, filed, everything. The man beside her nodded like a bobblehead. Nina picked it up, eyes moving across the page. And I watched Brooke watch Nina's face, like she was waiting for the moment the world would finally say, yes, Brooke, you're right. I stepped into the line behind them, heart pounding, and kept my mouth shut. Not because I was scared of Brooke, because I've learned something about people like my sister. If you give them a scene, they use it. Nina looked up from the order. Thank you, she said, still polite. One moment, please. Brooke leaned in. It's simple, she said. My father's assets are part of an estate matter. I'm legally authorized to access what's inside. The word estate made my skin crawl. My dad wasn't dead. He was sick, yes, but he was very much alive. Still texting me things like, did you pay the water bill? Like the world depended on it. Nina's eyes flicked to the bottom of the page again. Then she asked Brooke for one thing. Ms. Keller, Nina said, calm as glass. Do you have the certified copy with the clerk's seal? Brooke's smile didn't break. Not at first. It's right there, she said, tapping the page. It's signed. Nina nodded slowly, like she was agreeing with a toddler who thinks a crayon drawing is a driver's license. I see the signature, she said. I'm asking for the certified copy, the one with the clerk's certification and seal. The man in the blazer finally spoke. His voice had that smooth, practiced confidence. This is sufficient, he said. We don't need an embossed seal to verify an order. Nina didn't even glance at him. I'm not saying it isn't, she replied. I'm saying our bank policy requires a certified copy before vault access can be compelled. Brooke's smile tightened. Policy? She repeated, like it was a dirty word. It's a court order. Nina nodded. Yes, ma'am. Then she did something that made my pulse jump. She looked directly past Brooke and made eye contact with me, just a quick look. But it was enough, because her eyes said, Are you Aaron? I stepped forward slightly and gave the smallest nod. Brooke noticed the movement. She turned her head and saw me, and her face did that quick shift. Surprise, then irritation, then that bright fake smile like she'd just run into an old friend at the grocery store. Well, she said, sweet as poison. Look who finally decided to show up. I didn't take the bait. I just looked at the paper in Nina's hand. Is that about Dad's box? I asked Nina, steady. Brooke cut in immediately. It's none of your business, she snapped. This is legal. Nina kept her tone neutral but firm. Ma'am, she said, I need a moment to verify this documentation. Brooke crossed her arms. Verify what? It's right there. Nina didn't respond to the volume. She responded to process. She lifted the page slightly and pointed. Tiny movement, but I saw it. At the bottom, where a case number should have been, where a clerk's certification should have been, where something official should have anchored the whole thing. Instead, it was oddly clean. Too clean. Nina's face changed. Not panic, not anger, more like a door closing quietly in her head. She set the paper down, still visible, and smiled politely. Thank you, she said. Please wait right here. Then she reached under the counter, not for a stamp, not for a form, for the phone. Brooke's smile returned, confident again, because she thought the phone meant Nina was calling the vault to get the box open. But I saw the way Nina's thumb hovered, careful and deliberate. And I saw the way she didn't take her eyes off Brooke when she spoke into the receiver. Yes, Nina said softly. I need the branch manager up front. And I need security to check the lobby camera feed. Brooke's smile faltered. The man in the blazer shifted his weight. And Nina added one more sentence. Quiet but sharp enough to cut. And please notify the legal verification desk. The court order number doesn't populate. My sister stared at her like she'd just spoken a foreign language because she missed one detail. And the bank noticed. For a second, the lobby felt like it was holding its breath. Brooke's smile froze in place, like she wasn't sure whether to keep pretending this was routine or switch to plan B. The guy in the blazer tried first. He leaned toward Nina and lowered his voice like he was doing her a favor. You don't want to be the person who ignores a court order, he said. Nina didn't flinch. She just kept her eyes on the paper. I don't ignore anything, she replied. I verify. That was it. 2 words, but it changed the entire temperature. She kept the order on the counter, visible, untouched, and pressed one button under her station. Not an alarm, just a quiet call-up. A minute later, a man in a navy suit came from the hallway. No rush. No panic. Just that steady walk of someone who's dealt with messy people and messy money. Mr. Patel, Nina said softly. Branch manager. He didn't look at Brooke first. He looked at the document, then at Nina, then at me, and his eyes held on mine half a beat longer than they needed to, like he'd already connected the dots from the alert call. Ms. Keller? He asked calmly. I nodded. Aaron? Brooke snapped before he could say anything else. This has nothing to do with her, she said, too loud. I'm authorized. Mr. Patel held up a hand, not to silence her, just to slow the room down. Ma'am, he said to Brooke, polite but firm, I'm going to ask you to step to my office while we review this. Brooke smiled like she couldn't believe she was being inconvenienced. I'm not going anywhere, she said. You can review it right here. Open the box. Mr. Patel didn't argue. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't give her the stage. He just repeated the sentence the way adults do when someone tries to turn a boundary into a negotiation. Please step to my office. The blazer guy started again. If you deny access... Mr. Patel turned his head slightly. And you are? He asked. The man hesitated. I'm assisting. Then you may wait in the lobby, Mr. Patel said. This is a customer privacy matter. Brooke's eyes flashed. This is ridiculous, she snapped. You're treating me like a criminal. Mr. Patel's face stayed neutral. No, ma'am, he said. I'm treating this like a legal request. That's different. Brooke scoffed, but she finally pivoted and marched toward the office like she was doing him a favor. Mister, Patel gestured for me to come too. I followed, because I wasn't leaving the story to be told without me. Inside the office, Brooks sat down like she was settling into a win. Mr. Patel stood at his desk and slid the paper onto a blotter. Ms. Keller, he said to me, before we go any further, are you an authorized renter on Mr. Keller's box? Brooks' head snapped toward me so fast I almost laughed, because she still didn't know what my dad had done. I opened my purse and set the small key ring on the desk. I have one of the keys. I said, he gave it to me last week. Brooks' smile twitched. That proves nothing, she said quickly. Anyone can have a key. Mr. Patel nodded. A key alone isn't enough, he agreed, which is why we also confirm authorization. He turned his computer monitor slightly away from Brooke. Privacy, and typed. Brooke watched his fingers like she could intimidate a keyboard. Then Mr. Patel paused. Not dramatic, just a small stop. He clicked once, then twice. Nina had slipped into the doorway at some point, quiet as a shadow, and Mr. Patel looked up at her. Did you see the account note? He asked. Nina nodded once. Yes. Brooke leaned forward. What note? Mr. Patel didn't answer her. He printed something, one page, and laid it on the desk, face down. Then he looked at me. Ms. Keller, he said, your father placed special instructions on his safe deposit relationship. Brooke's jaw tightened. That's not... Mr. Patel held up one finger. These instructions say, if Mrs. on Brooke Keller attempts access using legal documents, we are to contact a designated attorney immediately and to preserve surveillance. Brooke went still, the kind of still where the person is trying to decide whether to laugh it off or break something. That's insane, she said. He wouldn't... Nina spoke for the first time, voice calm, factual. We have the note on file, she said. It's dated. Brooke's eyes narrowed at me like I'd written it myself. Mr. Patel turned back to the document. Now, he said, let's discuss what you presented. Brooke lifted her chin. A court order. Mr. Patel nodded once and pointed to the header. This is not a certified copy, he said. There's no clerk certification, no seal, and the case number format doesn't match what our verification desk uses. Brooke's smile returned. Thin, stubborn. Hot, it's signed, she said. That's enough. Mr. Patel's voice didn't change. No, ma'am, he replied. A signature is not enough to compel vault access at this institution. The blazer guy, still in the lobby, must have been listening through the door crack because his voice floated in. That's obstruction. Mr. Patel didn't even glance over. He just reached under his desk and picked up his phone. I'm calling our legal verification desk, he said. And I'm calling the attorney listed in Mr. Keller's instructions. Brooke's tone turned sharp. You're taking her side, she said. Mr. Patel looked at her plainly. I'm taking the bank's side, he said. Because if that document is legitimate, we comply correctly, and if it's not, we treat it correctly. He hit speaker. A woman answered on the second ring. This is Dana, legal verification. Mr. Patel spoke in the same calm business voice, like he was ordering printer paper. Dana, I have a court order presented to compel access to a safe deposit box. Case number doesn't populate in our lookup. No clerk certification. I need you to verify the docket and the authenticity markers. Dana didn't gasp. She didn't dramatize. Read me the case number, she said. Mr. Patel read it. There was a pause. Clicking. Then Dana said, flat. That's not a valid format for this county. What court is listed? Mr. Patel read the court name. Another pause. Dana's voice tightened, just slightly. That court doesn't issue civil seizure orders for safe deposit access in that way, she said, and that judge's name is misspelled. I looked at the paper again, and there it was. One letter off. The kind of mistake nobody notices unless they're trained to see it. Brooke's eyes darted to the page like she hadn't realized the typo could matter. Mr. Patel didn't look at her when he spoke. He kept his voice clean. Dana, what's our protocol? He asked. If it's suspected fraudulent legal process, Dana replied, we deny access, preserve surveillance, and notify security and law enforcement liaison. Brooke shot up from the chair. This is unbelievable, Oak, she snapped. You can't just accuse me. Mr. Patel stayed seated. He didn't flinch. We're not accusing, he said. We're verifying. Your document failed verification. Brooke's face flushed. I'll sue this bank. Nina, still in the doorway, didn't roll her eyes, but her tone had that quiet edge. Ma'am, she said. Threatening us doesn't make paperwork real. Brooke whipped toward her. Stay in your lane. Nina didn't move. I am, she said. My lane is keeping strangers out of the vault. That's when Mr. Patel's phone beeped, another line calling in. He glanced at the screen. Attorney's office, he said, then put it on speaker two. A voice came through, female, measured, like she'd been expecting this call for months. Law office of Min Jae Han, she said. This is Ms. Han. My stomach dropped. That was my dad's attorney. Mr. Patel didn't waste time. Ms. Han, we have Ms. Brooke Keller at our branch attempting access to Mr. Harold Keller's safe deposit box with what appears to be a non-certified court order, he said. We've denied access and preserved surveillance. Ms. Erin Keller is present. There was a beat, and then Ms. Han's voice sharpened, still calm but firmer. Do not allow Ms. Brooke Keller near the vault, she said. Do not disclose box contents. And please provide me the access attempt log with timestamps. Brooke laughed, loud, forced. Oh, so Dad's attorney is running the bank now, she said. Ms. Han didn't engage with the sarcasm. Ms. Brooke Keller, she said, clearly hearing her, your father is alive. You are not an executor. You are not authorized. Any attempt to use fraudulent legal process will be treated accordingly. Brooke's face changed. Not fear. Anger with a crack in it. This is family, she snapped. He owes me. Ms. Han cut her off like a door shutting. Family is not a court order, she said. Silence, then Ms. Han added, Erin, are you safe? I swallowed. I'm here. Good, she said. Mr. Patel? There's also a sealed instruction letter on file for Erin. If Brooke attempts access, you are authorized to release it to Erin in person. Mr. Patel glanced at Nina. Nina nodded and slipped away. Brooke stared at me like she just realized she wasn't the only one who could plan ahead. What letter? She demanded. Mr. Patel didn't answer. He simply stood and opened his office door. Ms. Brooke Keller, he said calmly, you will remain here while our security officer documents this attempted access. You are not being arrested at this moment, but you are not walking into the vault. Brooke stepped toward the door anyway, like she was testing him. And that's when a security officer appeared. Broad shoulders, calm face, badge clipped to his belt. Ma'am, he said polite, please stay in the office. Brooke's nostrils flared. And she looked at me and hissed, you think you're smart. Before I could answer, Nina returned, holding a plain envelope. No logo, no stamp. Just my name handwritten on the front. Erin. Only if Brooke shows up at the bank. My hands went cold as I took it. Because my dad had planned for this, and whatever was in that envelope was something he didn't trust my sister to ever see. I tore it open, unfolded the first page, and the very first line said, if you're reading this, your sister already tried to steal it. My hands were shaking a little when I unfolded Dad's letter, but the words were steady, like he wrote them on a day he wasn't scared anymore. Erin, if you're reading this, Brooke already tried the box. My throat tightened. Do not argue with her. Do not try to reason with the bank. Let them follow procedure. Procedure is your ally. That line alone felt like Dad in the room. Then my eyes caught the part that made my stomach drop in a different way. She will claim I'm gone. She will use estate language. That's the tell. I looked up from the paper, straight at Brooke. And sure enough, she was back at it, loud enough for the lobby to hear, like she was performing for invisible jurors. I'm the next of kin, she said. This is estate business. Mr. Patel stepped out of his office with the same calm he'd had earlier. No heat, no fear, just control. The security officer was beside him now, not looming, just present. Ms. Keller, Mr. Patel said, I need to clarify something before we go any further. Brooks' smile turned sharp. Finally. Is your father deceased? He asked. The question hit the air like a brick. Brooke didn't even blink. Yes, she said. He passed. It was so clean, so quick that for half a second I felt dizzy, like words could rewrite reality if you said them confidently enough. My grip tightened on Dad's letter. Mr. Patel's face didn't change, but his eyes did. They went a little flatter. I'm sorry to hear that, he said. Do you have a death certificate or letters of administration? Brooke's smile twitched. I have a court order, she snapped, like that was a magic key. Mr. Patel nodded, still calm. Our policy requires proof of authority in estate matters, a certified death certificate, and court appointment documents. Brooke's voice got louder. This is the appointment. Mr. Patel turned slightly toward Nina. Nina, please confirm. Does our file show Mr. Keller as deceased? Nina didn't hesitate. No, sir. Brooke's eyes flashed. I glanced back at Dad's letter and felt my chest go cold again because he'd written the next part like he could see this moment. If she says I'm gone, she's committing the lie she can't walk back. I looked up and, without meaning to, let out one dry little laugh under my breath. Not because it was funny, because it was so Brooke. Make the biggest lie possible and dare the world to challenge it. Mr. Patel's voice stayed even. Ms. Keller, he said, because you've presented a document that does not verify in our system, and you've now stated your father is deceased when our records do not reflect that, we are preserving this interaction and escalating it. Brooke scoffed. Escalating to who? Your manager? I am the manager, he said. The security officer stepped forward half a pace, still polite. Ma'am, he said, I need to see your identification. Brooke's face tightened. Why? Because you presented legal paperwork, he said. We document identity. Brooke turned her head toward me like she wanted me to rescue her, or maybe she wanted the satisfaction of blaming me. This is her doing, she snapped. She's trying to lock me out. Mr. Patel didn't take the bait. He just looked at me and asked, Mrs. Keller, is your father alive? I swallowed. My voice came out steady. Yes, I said. He's in a rehab facility, and his attorney is on the phone. Nina lifted her hand slightly like she was already ready for the next step. Mr. Patel nodded once. Thank you. Brooke's face shifted, just a crack. Not guilt, annoyance. Like someone told her the shortcut was closed. Fine, she snapped. Maybe he's not officially declared yet, but he's not capable. He's not making decisions. That word, capable, made my skin prickle. Dad's letter had another line, underlined so hard the pen almost tore through. If she says not capable, she's already moving on the next court filing. I glanced at the blazer guy in the lobby. He was on his phone now, angled away, whispering fast. Not nervous, busy. Like this wasn't his first time doing this. Mr. Patel tapped a few keys, then looked at Brooke again. Mrs. Keller, he said, your attempt to access the vault is denied. You are not authorized on this box. Brooke's chin lifted. That's a lie. Mr. Patel didn't argue. He didn't need to. He slid a printed page across the counter, something banks love because ink doesn't care about feelings. Access log and signer authorization, he said. Miss Erin Keller is listed. You are not. Brooke's eyes shot to the paper, then to me, then back to the paper again, like she was trying to will it to change. That's impossible, she said through her teeth. He wouldn't. Nina's voice stayed calm, but there was a little edge now. He did, she said. It's dated and signed on file. Brooke's mouth opened, then closed. And then she did the thing she always does when she can't win fair. She reached. Not for the paper. For Dad's envelope in my hand. Her fingers snapped toward it, quick, like she could just take the truth away from me. The security officer moved faster. He didn't grab her. He didn't tackle her. He simply stepped between us and held a hand up. Ma'am, he said, still polite. Ike, do not approach her. Brooke's face flushed hot. Are you kidding me? This is my family. Mr. Patel's tone stayed boring on purpose. This is our bank, he corrected. And you presented a document that appears fraudulent. Brooke's voice rose again. It's not fraudulent. It's real. Mr. Patel nodded once, like he'd heard that 1,000 times. Then you won't mind us sending it to our legal verification desk and preserving the footage, he said. Brooke's eyes flicked fast to the front doors, like she was calculating how quickly she could get out. The blazer guy appeared beside her, low voice, urgent. Brooke, we should go, he murmured. That was the first time he sounded nervous. Brooke hissed. No. Mr. Patel didn't raise his voice, but his words were final. Security, he said. And please document the ID presented and the paperwork and provide the incident number to our legal team. Brooke snapped, I'm not giving you my ID. The security officer nodded like he'd expected that too. Then you're free to leave, he said calmly. But the cameras are still running. Brooke glared at me one last time, and then she spun toward the door, fast, angry. The blazer guy followed, but as she moved, her slim portfolio slipped from under her arm and hit the tile. Papers slid out. Mr. Patel didn't move. Nina didn't move. I did, because I saw the top page before she could grab it. Big, bold header. Petition for emergency temporary conservatorship. My heart thudded once, heavy. Brooke snatched the portfolio and shoved everything back in. But not before I caught one more line under the header. Relief requested, authority to access financial accounts and safe deposit box. She saw that I'd read it. Her eyes narrowed and her voice dropped low, quiet enough that only I could hear. You can't stop me, she whispered. I'm filing in the morning. Then she walked out like she owned the air. I stood there holding Dad's letter, feeling the whole thing click into place. This wasn't just about what was inside the box. This was about control. And my sister had already picked her next weapon. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I was afraid of Brooke kicking my door in or anything dramatic like that. It was quieter than that. It was the kind of fear that lives in paperwork. Because paperwork doesn't need permission to ruin your morning. At 6:30, Ms. Ahan called me. Not a good morning call. We're already moving call. Aaron, she said, Brooke filed exactly what your father predicted. My stomach sank. The conservatorship. Yes, Ms. Han replied. Emergency, temporary. And she's asking for authority over the estate and financial access. Estate, I repeated. He's alive. I know, Ms. Han said. She knows. That's the point. She didn't sound angry. She sounded prepared. Here's what we're doing, she continued. First, we open the box today with you present, before she can wave anything in front of anyone and confuse them. I swallowed. Can we do that? You're authorized, Ms. Han said. The bank confirmed it. Mr. Patel is cooperating. I'm meeting you there. I was halfway out the door when my phone buzzed again. This time, a text from a number I didn't recognize. Asked Brooke's counsel. We'll see you in court at 1:30. Tell Aaron to stop interfering with the estate. I stared at the screen. Counsel? So the blazer guy hadn't been assisting. He'd been warming up. When I arrived at Riverside Bank, Mr. Patel was waiting near the vault hallway with Nina and the security officer. They all looked calmer than I felt. Like they'd decided the best way to handle chaos was to make it boring. Ms. Han showed up 5 minutes later, carrying a slim briefcase and a face that said she hated wasting time. She shook Mr. Patel's hand, nodded at Nina, and then looked at me. Do you have your key? She asked. I held it up. Good, yeah, she said. Let's make this clean. They didn't open the box like in movies. No dramatic wheel, no echoing vault sound. It was procedure. 2 keys, 2 signatures, a quiet log sheet. Mr. Patel, read a few lines off a printed instruction note. Customer placed special directive. If Brooke Keller attempts access, Preserve surveillance, notify legal verification, notify counsel. He glanced at Mrs. Hahn. Done and done. Nina slid a thin folder across the small counter space outside the vault. Access attempt log, she said. Timestamps. Copies of the document presented. Incident report number. Ms. Hahn's eyes flicked over it. Perfect, she said, and tucked it into her briefcase like it was gold. Then the vault attendant brought out a long metal box, set it down, and stepped back. My hands trembled slightly when I put my key in. Not because I expected treasure, because I expected Dad, the careful version of him, to have put something in here specifically for moments like this. The lid lifted. Inside were two things, neatly stacked. A sealed envelope marked Aaron, open only with counsel present, and a thinner folder with one label on the front, letters. Mrs. Hahn took the envelope first and nodded at me. Open it, she said. I broke the seal. On top was a single page Dad had signed, dated, and, because he was my father, neatly initialed at the bottom, like he didn't trust the world not to shuffle pages. The first sentence hit me like a steady hand on my shoulder. I am alive. I am competent. Brooke is not authorized to act for me. I exhaled hard, like I'd been holding my breath since last night. Ms. Hahn flipped through the rest. There were copies of a durable power of attorney naming me, a letter addressed to any bank, court, or medical facility, in Dad's blunt, plain language. And the last page, handwritten, felt like he wrote it with his jaw clenched. If Brooke claims I'm dead or incapacitated to access my property, treat it as fraud. I am asking you to protect Aaron. Ms. Hahn didn't smile, but her eyes softened for half a second. Good man, she murmured. Then she opened the folder labeled Letters. Inside were stamped copies of something that looked boring until you understood what it meant. A court-issued appointment document. The kind of thing people wave around to prove authority. Except it wasn't Brooke's. It was Dad's plan, pre-filed and ready, naming me as the person to communicate financial decisions if he became unable. He didn't want to fight later. He wanted a door that would only open for one person. Mrs. Hand tucked everything away and looked at Mr. Patel. Please make certified copies of your incident report and the access attempt logs, she said, and I'll need the camera preservation confirmation. Mr. Patel nodded. Already prepared. Nina handed over another sheet. Bank liaison contact, she said quietly, if law enforcement needs the footage. Brooke had missed the detail that mattered most. This bank wasn't going to treat her like family. It was going to treat her like risk. My phone buzzed again. A text from Brooke this time, short, smug. Don't bother. The judge is giving me temporary authority today. I stared at it, then looked at Ms. Hahn. She thinks she's walking out of court with paperwork, I said. Ms. Hahn zipped her briefcase. She might walk out with paperwork, she said evenly. Just not the paperwork she wants. We drove straight from the bank to the rehab facility. Not because we needed a dramatic bedside scene, because Ms. Hahn wanted one thing that ends arguments fast. A doctor's note. Dad's nurse met us at the front and led us down a hallway that smelled like coffee and disinfectant. Dad was sitting in a chair by the window wearing a sweatshirt that made him look smaller than he used to. But his eyes were still his. Sharp, annoyed, present. When he saw Ms. Han, he sighed like he'd been expecting her. She tried the box, he said. Not a question. Ms. Han nodded. Yes. Dad looked at me. You okay? I nodded. My voice caught anyway. He patted my hand once and then looked past me, like he was already picturing Brooke's face when her plan failed. The facility physician came in. Quick, sure professional, and after a short conversation, signed a one-page statement confirming Dad was oriented and able to make decisions. Not poetry, not a sermon. Just the kind of plain paper judges respect. By noon, we were at the courthouse. Different building than most people imagine because this wasn't criminal court. This was the kind of courtroom where people smile while they try to take things. Brooke was already there, fresh hair, fresh confidence, standing beside the blazer guy who now wore the full costume, briefcase, tie, and that I bill by the hour posture. He introduced himself the moment Ms. Hahn walked in. Kyle Benton, he said, offering a hand like he was being polite. Counsel for Ms. Keller. Ms. Hahn didn't take it. Not rudely, just like she didn't shake hands with Fires. Min Jae Han, she replied. Counsel for Harold Keller. Brooke's smile twitched. Dad's alive? She said, loud enough for the bailiff to hear, like it was brand new information. I didn't answer. Dad's nurse had taught me something in 10 minutes that Brooke never learned in 40 years. The person who talks the most usually has the weakest paperwork. The clerk called the case. Brooke stood first, chin high. Emergency temporary conservatorship, she announced. My father is incapacitated, and my sister is interfering with his assets. Ms. Hahn stood slowly, calm as a locked door. Your Honor, she said, Mr. Keller is alive, present by signed statement and medical confirmation, and he opposes this petition. We also have evidence the petitioner attempted to access his safe deposit box using a fraudulent court order this week. The judge, an older woman with reading glasses low on her nose, paused. Fraudulent court order? She repeated. Ms. Hahn handed the clerk a thin stack. Bank incident report, she said. Time-stamped, access attempt log, document copy, and a preservation notice for surveillance. The clerk walked it up. The judge looked down. Read, then her face changed. Slowly, like someone realizing they've been handed a problem that's bigger than family drama. She tapped one line with her pen and looked directly at Brooke. Ms. Keller, she said, voice suddenly colder. Did you tell the bank your father had died? Brooke's smile slipped. Just for a second, but it slipped. And the whole room felt it. And Brooke's mouth opened like she had a whole speech ready. Then the judge repeated the question, slower this time, like she was giving Brooke one last chance to choose a smart lie instead of a stupid one. Ms. Keller, she said, did you tell the bank your father had died? Brooke glanced sideways at Kyle Benton, her counsel, like she expected him to pull a rabbit out of a briefcase. Kyle cleared his throat. Your Honor, my client may have misspoken in a stressful... The judge held up her hand without even looking at him. I didn't ask you, she said. Then she looked directly at Brooke again. Yes or no? Brooke's face did that tight little twitch it does when she realizes she can't charm her way out. I said he was basically gone, she snapped. He's not capable of handling things. Ms. Hahn didn't jump in. Oh, she just slid a single page toward the clerk. Medical statement signed yesterday, she said calmly. He is oriented, competent, and able to make decisions. The clerk carried it up. The judge read it, then looked at Brooke like she'd just walked into court holding a lit match and pretending it wasn't fire. Ms. Keller, the judge said, you filed an emergency petition claiming incapacity, while your father is medically documented as competent, and you attempted to access his safe deposit box using what the bank's legal verification desk describes as a non-valid court order. Brooke shook her head hard, like she could physically shake the facts off the table. That's not true, she snapped. The bank is biased. My sister is manipulating them. The judge's eyes flicked to me. Ms. Keller, she asked me, did you instruct the bank to deny your sister access? I didn't overtalk it. No, I said. They denied her because the document didn't verify, and because my dad put written instructions on file. Ms. Hahn nodded once and handed up the bank packet. Incident number, access log, and the copy of the fake order. The judge read page by page without reacting, until she got to the part that made her stop. A line from Dana at the bank's legal verification desk. Judge's name misspelled. Case number format invalid. No clerk certification. The judge tapped the page twice. Then she looked up at Brooke. Who prepared this document? She asked. Brooke's chin lifted like she was daring the courtroom to challenge her. My attorney, she said, gesturing at Kyle. He handled it. Kyle's face went blank. Not panicked, just caught. And he opened his mouth, but Ms. Hahn spoke first, voice even. Your Honor, she said, Mr. Benton is not listed as counsel on the bank document, and the bank received the order presented in person by Ms. Brooke Keller. We are not asking this court to guess. The bank preserved video. The access log has timestamps. The order itself contains non-authentic markers. The judge leaned back slightly. You could see her deciding what this was. Not a family argument. A court being used as a costume. She lowered her glasses. Here is my ruling, she said. Brooke straightened like she was about to win anyway, just by refusing reality hard enough. 1. The petition for emergency temporary conservatorship is denied, Brooke's head snapped up. What? The judge didn't budge. Denied, she repeated. Based on the medical confirmation of competence and the lack of credible evidence of incapacity. Brooke started to talk again, fast. The judge lifted one finger. 2. I am issuing an order prohibiting Ms. Brooke Keller from presenting any documents to banks or financial institutions claiming authority over Harold Keller's accounts or safe deposit box without a court-issued appointment. Kyle tried to recover. Your Honor, that's overly broad. The judge finally looked at him. Counsel, she said, your client walked into a bank with a document that does not authenticate. This court is not going to wait for round 2. Kyle shut his mouth. Brooke's face went red. This is unbelievable, she hissed. The judge continued, calm and final. 3. I am awarding attorney's fees related to today's hearing and the emergency response to this petition. Ms. Hahn, you will submit your affidavit. Ms. Keller, you will pay. Brooke actually laughed, one sharp sound. Pay, she barked. For what? For her theatrics? The judge didn't flinch. For filing an emergency petition without basis, she said, and for creating risk that required immediate legal response. Then the judge's voice got a little colder. Not louder, just colder. And 4, she said, I'm referring this matter to the appropriate authorities for review of attempted fraud involving a financial institution and the presentation of a non-authentic court document. Brooke went still. Kyle's eyes dropped to his notes like he suddenly wished the floor had a trap door. And the bailiff shifted just slightly toward the aisle. Not a threat. A reminder. Brooke's confidence started leaking out of her in real time. You can't, she said, quieter now. This is family. The judge looked right at her. Family does not excuse fraud, she said, and this courtroom is not a prop. She signed the order on the bench. Pen scratching, no drama. Just ink that changed everything. Ms. Hahn didn't smile. She simply collected the signed copies like someone who has done this long enough to know celebration is premature until the paperwork is stamped. Outside the courtroom, Kyle tried to corner Ms. Hahn with a low, urgent tone. We can talk settlement. Ms. Hahn didn't stop walking. You can talk to the judge's order, she said. It's very clear. Brooke snapped at me as we passed. You think you won because you brought your little lawyer? I looked at her and said the truth, plain and boring on purpose. I won because you brought a fake court order to a bank. She hated that sentence because it didn't give her anything to argue with. That same afternoon, we went back to Riverside Bank. Mr. Patel met us at the front with Nina and the security officer. The second he saw the stamped order, his shoulders relaxed like he'd been waiting for it all day. Ms. Hahn handed it over. Court denied the petition and prohibited Brooke from presenting authority without appointment. She said, please place it on file. Mr. Patel nodded. We already flagged the relationship, he said. This will lock it down even tighter. He printed a confirmation for the bank file update, handed it to me, and added one more piece that felt like a real-world door closing. A trespass notice is being issued, he said. If she returns, security will handle it. Brooke wasn't going to talk her way past a camera and a written notice. Not here. Not again. 2 weeks later, I got an email from Ms. Hahn with a subject line that made me exhale before I even opened it. Fee order entered plus case referral confirmed. Inside were 3 attachments. The signed fee order with the amount and date. A short confirmation letter from the court clerk noting the referral was transmitted. A bank letter confirming the safe deposit restrictions, and the incident number tied to the access attempt. I stared at those PDFs the way you stare at a lock clicking shut. Not because it was exciting, because it was safe. Brooke tried one more time. Of course she did. And she sent me a text that said, "You can't keep dad from me forever." I forwarded it to Ms. Hahn. Ms. Hahn replied with one sentence: "She can contact him. She cannot touch his money." That's what this was always about. Not love, not grief, not family, control. And the moment Brooke tried to grab it with a fake piece of paper, every ally she thought she could bluff, bank staff, legal verification, a judge, turned into a wall. My dad called me that night from rehab. His voice was tired but steady. "She tried the box," he said again, like he needed to hear it out loud. "Yeah," I told him. "She did." He paused. Then he said softly, "And you didn't give her a scene." I looked at the fee order on my kitchen table and the bank confirmation beside it. "No," I said. "I gave her a paper trail." Dad exhaled, almost a laugh. "That's my girl," he said. And for the first time in weeks, I slept without waking up to check my phone. Because this wasn't hanging in the air anymore. It was stamped, it was filed, and it was closed.